Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Bucks losing tonight 119-116 to the Portland Trailblazers 0-2 in the Doc Rivers era. Come on in the room. I can't even do the Doc thing. I can't do that because he ain't got no medicine for us right now. You got to get a win. Let me tell you, you got to get a win to get the intro with the medicine and the prescriptions, because right now you ain't prescribing nothing. So Doc's over there doing whatever he do, but right now he's 0-2. Bucks lose at 119-116. Come on in the room. We are live. It's the Cream City crossover. The guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Chris King.
Yeah, and we are also joined by a special guest. Listen, man, we've been wanting to get this guy on for a minute. He has been on programs before with all your T's and Q's. Saturday mornings, 9:7 through the game. He writes at Behind the Bucks. He also co-hosts the Green and Growing podcast. CBS Radio out there with Sparky. We see you doing your thing there. The one, the only, the man, Nathan Marzion. What up, Nate?
What's going on? Thank you for that great introduction. Yeah, man, that is we're coming fresh off a very tough Bucks loss here late at night, but thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited to do this post game. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about. 119-116, the Portland Trailblazers, in a shocker, beat the Milwaukee Bucks. You can get your comments in at me at TCIIIESQ. We'll also take your comments in the YouTube as well. But first, you know how we got to do it. We got to get to the game recap tonight, sponsored by the law office of Daily M. Johnson. When you need defense, where, Chris?
Off the court, baby.
Off the court. You got to have that defense off the court. You call my guy at the law office of Daily M. Johnson. He's going to hook you up with criminal defense, traffic, OWI defense, temporary restraining orders, and injunctions. Call the law office of Daily M. Johnson, 608-893-8370, serving Central and South Central Wisconsin. Go to his website, www.dmjlaw.com. Sign up for free phone or in-person consultation. Again, tonight, the score 119-116. This one comes down to the wire. You've seen the Bucks so many times in the situation, the best clutch team in the NBA. Tonight, they did not show it. Going through the recap, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 27, 8, and 4 on 16 shots tonight. Damian Lillard, 25, 7, and 6. Not enough. And I know so many people have been making the comments about Damian Lillard. Well, he doesn't get the shots. He's standing in the corner. You gotta feature him in the offense. Well, he took more shots than anybody in the Bucks tonight. He took more shots than every single player. He took on threes alone. He took the same amount of 3-pointers as Chris Middleton took shots. So all the people that I hear crying about what Damian Lillard doesn't get to do and the offense that he's not able to play in and all of that stuff, Damian got his looks tonight. You know what he went? 3 for 13 from 3. He shot a tornado from 3. So not good enough. 9 of 23 from the field. That was 40%. He was 4 for 4 from the line. Not good enough tonight from Damian Lillard. Brook Lopez, 19 points, 4 boards. Chris Middleton had a game. 21 points, 9 of 13 from the field. Giannis had 5 turnovers. Interesting enough, all Bucks starters were positives, plus minus. And then, of course, you had the bench guys that provide nothing as always. Pat Connaughton, 14 minutes. 0 points. Bobby Portis had 11 and 6. He was a minus 11 tonight. Jay Crowder, 6 points campaign, nothing. And Marzion, AJ Green. Marzion, AJ Green, Andre Jackson Jr. can't get up off the bench. C&D did not play. Coach's decision there. I probably messed it up. Jeremy Grant with 13 points. DeAndre Ayton, 20 and 11. A double-double. Like DeAndre, killing Brook Lopez. Anthony Simons, 24, 3 and 5. Simon's a guy that goes and again continues the theme of Damian Lillard being outplayed by another guard. What do you do when you get on prize picks, when you get on draft, you get on underdog? You go ahead and get on those other guards because they're going to outperform what the Bucks do. Brogdon went 14, 6 and 6. He has his own issues. Scoot Henderson put up 15 with 4 assists. Your boy Scoot Henderson, Chris, and then your other boy Tamani Kumar has some great defense down the stretch. 4 points, 4 boards, and Matisse Thybulle with 6 points as well. 119-116. Just some quick thoughts. And I want to get Nate in here to give his thoughts on what he saw tonight. The first half, the defense looked as bad as I've ever seen it. Bad as I've ever seen this Milwaukee Bucks defense. That's what it was in the first half. They gave up 67 points to the Portland Trailblazers, who are one of the worst offenses in the NBA. Now, in the second half, it got much better. It did. They held them to 23 points in the fourth quarter. But for whatever reason, and this is now in the post Adrian Griffin era, that's 3 out of 5 games now where offensively, not talking about defense, everyone talking about defense, offensively, the Bucks, tonight to me looked the most. They talked about Bobby, so I wonder what Bobby Portis is going to do in the locker room tonight because he talked about dysfunction in this organization. What are we doing? I want to hear what the guys say tonight. I got a feeling they're not going to do all that to Doc Rivers because they respect Doc a little too much. Let me not say too much, but they actually have some level of respect for Doc Rivers that they didn't have for Adrian Griffin because they did all that talk about what Adrian Griffin was doing, and this offense to me looked so discombobulated. I ain't never seen offense 6 turnovers when you come out in the fourth quarter. What are we doing? Giannis looked as lazy as I've ever seen. Some of the terrible, laziest passes. Dame was doing it. It was horrible. They got their act together defensively. They did end up getting the stops late, but they couldn't score. And again, what we used to see was this team be able to score at will at any point in time. You knew they were going to come down and give you a bucket. Right now, their third and fourth quarters were worse offensively, scoring-wise, than the first and the second, where they put up 38 in the first quarter, 27 in the second. They put up 26 in the third, 25 in the fourth. Horrible. Not good enough. If you score the basketball, you win this basketball game. They did not do that. So, again, problems on defense in the first half, problems on offense in the second half. This team looks as lost as I've ever seen it throughout the year, throughout this season. And, again, this is people said that coming close to Detroit to losing Detroit was like the worst thing in the world. No. Tonight was the worst thing in the world for the Milwaukee Bucks, a 119-116 loss to the Portland Trailblazers. That's what I saw. Nate Dogg, what'd you see?
Yeah, man, very, very frustrating. As you said, they give up 67 in the first half. Defense was a huge problem in the first half, but the offense kept them in it. And then second half's kind of the complete opposite. The defense kept them in it while the offense stumbled a little bit, and especially in that fourth quarter. To start the fourth was just awful, awful basketball, as you said. I think they had 5 or 6 straight turnovers. Dame had a couple of them. Giannis had some. And it's so tough to get a gauge on this team right now because it's like, I want to say the defense just sucks, but then they show, again, they turn it around in the second half. They showed a couple of good games before this where the defense looks better. And, and then there's times it's like, okay, well, I think the offense is great, but then they'll go through these stretches of, okay, all of a sudden, tonight they only shoot 29% from 3. And then they go through stretches like they did in that fourth quarter where they're turning the ball over, they're getting sloppy, and it doesn't look like there's that much structure. I did think that offensively, I know Dame didn't have a great game, 9 of 23, 3 of 13, but I did like how much he had the ball and his aggressiveness. And it did seem like most of those shots, of the 23 shots he took, I think 20 to 21 of them were like shots that I had zero problem with. There was like one mid-range he forced up in the fourth quarter and maybe one other 3 that he kind of forced up. But overall, like I thought they were good shots. I thought that, again, I like that he was aggressive because the last game against Denver, it was like they didn't even, I feel like they didn't even give themselves too much of a chance to win because they didn't put the ball in the hands of their best players and it was more in the hands of Bobby Portis. At least tonight you had your main 4 guys. Those were the guys with the ball in their hands. And it was like, we're going to kind of live or die with what they give you. And, Chris was really good. Brook had a good game up until that last shot. And then I thought, again, Dame wasn't great. And then Giannis was good, but also had his moments of being, not good enough, turning the ball over too much. So, at the end of the day, I like the process of putting the ball in your best players' hands, letting them be the ones that dictate how good your offense is. But tonight, Giannis and Dame came up a little bit short. And then, defensively, it's tough to get a gauge because it's like they give up so many points in that first half, but some of it is, nice shooting from the Trailblazers. I think they were 55, 60% from 3 in the first half. And I know some of those were open. Some of them were contested. I thought in the second half, the Bucks really did a good job contesting. And down the stretch of this game, I thought the Blazers got almost no easy buckets in the last 8 minutes of this game. But Ayton and Simons and those guys, they hit some tough shots. And you're like, I don't know if I should be blaming the defense. I don't know if I should be blaming the offense more. Like it's a tough situation to be in because you don't really know what the biggest problem is right now. Um, I mean, again, you kind of have to trust. Like, I'm gonna trust that Dame is gonna figure this out. I'm gonna trust that this is a slump and this is something he will be better when we get to March, April, May, June. Um, that he will be better. If he's not better, then you're obviously not going to win the championship. Like that's something you just, of course, if Dame continues to shoot 28% from three, no, they're not going to win the title. So you have to kind of assume that that will go up, and that like you have to. If it doesn't, then you're not going to have a chance. And then, um, I mean, yeah, the defense, I guess, is the thing that's been the most consistently bad this year. So that's obviously probably number one on your concern level list. But still, like again, I think it's getting somewhat better. We're seeing flashes of it being better. We're seeing, at least times where it looks better. And again, a night like this is frustrating because I feel like the whole second half, the defense, was pretty good. And then now all of a sudden the offense starts to struggle. They can't seem to get both to work together at the same time too much. So it's just been a frustrating time.
I think as far as the defense goes, you made some good points, and I think one of the biggest problems is they choose when to lock in, and you can't really have that late in the fourth quarter when the whole game has been you're just trying to score with the Trailblazers, who you should not be trying to score with. I think a lot of times you see the same laziness that we had when Griff was here. Guys are slow on the closeouts. Guys are allowing straight line drives. They're scoring a lot in the paint, floaters, the pick and roll. We still struggle. So stuff like that on the defensive end has got to change. They've got to put together a full 48 minutes of basketball on the defensive end, and I've yet to see it. So that obviously some good parts about tonight, like you mentioned, Nate. I thought Chris was great. I thought he really did a good job of not forcing it, but also knowing the matchups that he could take advantage of. And obviously, when you have some defenders and guys that are trying to take Giannis and Dame out of the game, and they're applying heavy ball pressure, Chris is going to have to step up. And I thought he did a good job of that tonight. Like to see the minutes from Malik Beasley. I know John, you'll probably talk about that at the end. He played really tough defense, but once again, I'd like to see him lock in a little bit earlier than just the final 4 minutes of when he gets subbed in. So a lot of good stuff tonight, but a lot of stuff that we got to work on.
With all your points, one thing I'll say tonight that was a little frustrating to me is we got outplayed, right? And then when I say outplayed, I mean from a statistical standpoint, they shot better than us, 53% to 48 from the field. They shot better us from the 3-point line, 43% to 29%. They shot better from the free throw line, 100% they didn't miss a single free throw. Now they only got 9 tonight. We shot 72. Then the turnover battle, right? We had 13, they had 11. They had 56 points in the paint. We had 46. But at the end of the day, we were still in position to win this game at the end. We were 100% in position to win this game at the end. And that first half was as shaky, like Trey said. It was as bad as we've seen all year. But the sequences start the fourth quarter. I mean, man, is there anything like a momentum killer than turnover and then numerous different turnovers and then 6 straight, right? Giannis had, 3? Dame had 2. Pat had 1. Pat had more turnovers than points tonight, which that really should not happen. But, it is what it is. Pat didn't even take a single shot tonight. First time we've seen that in a very long time from Pat, especially when he's played over 10 minutes. Having said that, though, I agree with what Chris said when he talked about Malik Beasley having the ability to step up and make those plays at the end. And I'm not really sure, but stick with Malik Beasley for a second. I said this to Nate before the show started. Malik Beasley's in a slump. Right, and we know who he is. He is that microwave. He is that shooter. He is lightning in a bottle from the 3-point line a lot of times, right? Or at least he consistently is going to give you at least a few a game. His last 5 games, man, he's been 3 for 8, 2 for 9, 3 for 10, 1 for 2, 3 for 5. But tonight he had 6 boards. I say all that to say that if you're a guy like Malik Beasley and you're going to get on the court and you're not going to score, you're not going to give this team buckets, you got to find a way to contribute. Or, like everybody said, I don't want to cave to the Twitter masses, he may find himself on the bench, right? Other thing that I'm going to point out, there were times where I thought Brook looked a little shaky on D, and I was like, man, this is not looking great at all, right? But, again, when you're Brook Lopez and you're not playing good defense, you got to hit a key 3. You got to find another way to contribute. You got to do something. And I think you saw that from him tonight as he led the team in threes, and he was 4 for 10.
Let's stick on Brook Lopez for a second. By the way, Chris, you told me this other day, but I didn't know. I'm seeing comments on the Twitter as well, like just from on the feed. So that's another story.
There
We've
we
had
go.
issues with that all year. So I'll read some of the stuff. Obviously, people tweet me as well as comments on YouTube. We'll get to them, but I want to stick on Brook Lopez. You talked about the 3-point shooting from Brook Lopez, but there was one that he took at the end of the game. It's Dame time, right? Dame threw the alley oop to Giannis. I mean, how about this sequence at the end where look, the Bucks are going to take over and win the basketball game? Where Giannis, I mean, the block on DeAndre Ayton. I mean, immediate flashbacks to 2021 where he turns around. I mean, it's a lob. He's looking the other way. He flips around. Boom! It's a block. The thing, and the Bucks are still playing. I mean, CTE basketball because they can't even get the freaking ball. But anyway, I mean, the multiple efforts there to get to finally swat down. I think Giannis eventually, because Ayton got it back, he swipes down. They get it. They get the ball back. Then at some point, you get the steal off the inbounds or whatever it was from Malik Beasley, the alley oop with Dame and Giannis. Bucks take the lead. Everything's well. Of course, I believe it was Simons who comes back and hits the bucket over Beasley, which is good defense. That was not one where I had an issue. That was a tough. I think he was like a Euro runner to put that one in. So I wasn't mad at Beasley for that. He played good defense, stayed down, didn't give up an easy bucket. It's a tough shot. But then at the end of the game, where we throw it into Brook Lopez, and Brook, for whatever reason, I mean, he gets it back to Dame. Dame turns around, and a good job on Brogdon. Brogdon swings over and makes Dame pass the ball up. But at this point, there's 6 seconds left. Were the Bucks down? Were they down 1? Were they down? They were down 1 at that point, right? I think they were down 1 because Grant then hit 2 free throws. Mm-hmm. So for one, why? And this is what I thought was going to happen, was that for whatever reason they were going to get into this mode where Dame time, we got to get a 3 because that's what Damian Lillard does in the game situations. So like, why are we not going to the basket? But I'm not even going to. So Dame's looking for the 3, but eventually gives it back to Brook, which he had to. There's still like 6 seconds left, and Brook pumps, and I'm not kidding you. I don't know if they had issues before the game. I don't know. I just conjecture, but Brook Lopez 3 separate times tonight looked off Damian Lillard to do God knows what. He did it once in the first half. I called it out where like Dame's asking for the ball and Brook threw like a layup behind the backboard that didn't go in. He took a 3 early in the second half, and then so that's at least 3 times tonight. And then he took this one where, and again, did he hit some shots? Yes. But Brook, when the last time you seen Brook Lopez hit a go-ahead 3 to win a game? He's hit some big threes. He hit a big one the other night when they came back to beat Sacramento. I think he hit a big 3 that game as well. But that's come on, Brook. Damian Lillard was back open, and I don't understand why. And he's back in Portland. This is Dame time. I disagree with wanting a 3, but if you're gonna do it, Dame Lillard's got to be the guy that shoots that 3. And if you can't get it back to him, that's fine. There was time to get it back to Damian Lillard, and they didn't do that. I just could not believe Brook Lopez took that 3. What did you guys think about that?
I didn't think. I was just gonna say I mean, I know obviously your ideal scenario is you get it to Dame in that situation, but like if Brook had taken that 3 without the pump fake, then I would have said, okay, he forced it up a little bit. But he did. He was wide open. He had just hit one, and I know like Brogdon started to go towards Lopez, but then immediately kind of started because he knew Dame was right there. He started to go like as Brook is about to shoot or going into a shooting motion, he kind of goes towards Dame. So I don't think Dame would have been open by the time he actually got the ball. Like I think Brogdon was going towards him more. I can't complain too much about it. I guess I have more of a problem. Rather than Brook Lopez shooting 3, I guess I in that situation I probably have more of a problem with them going for the 3 rather than going to the paint using either Dame, Brook, or Giannis to get to the paint. Maybe you draw a foul, maybe maybe you're able to score whatever, but you're only down 1, so I didn't think you needed a 3. Again, I'm not going to complain too much because it was a fine look. I would have been irate if Brook had actually like forced one up in traffic or something. But I don't know. It was a frustrating way to end. It obviously you'd prefer to see the ball in Dame's hands, but again, on a night where Brook was, at that point 4 of 9 from 3, I wasn't too mad at it because he got a good look.
Here's what I think about the situation, and I kind of echo the same sentiment. Is like you got to at least try to maybe get to the rim or just put it in somebody else's hands. But I also think that what are you doing, Brook, when you get to Monty Kamara in the air? What are you doing putting the ball on the floor? It's a pump fake and it's a shot right away. And we know that Brook can knock that down, but off the dribble, I think he psyched himself out. So that's my short thoughts on it.
Is that a Doc issue though? Like, are we going to put that on Doc? Is to say, like, listen, man, hey, I got to tell my guys, get to the rim. We're down. This situational basketball here. Like, hey, we're down 1. We don't need 3. Why? Like, who is that on? Like,
it was forced for sure. It was definitely forced.
Is that a Dame issue? Is that like, hey, somebody's got to be the general on the court and be like, listen, this is kind of what we doing. I don't know. Like, I really don't know who you put that on, but I do agree with you, Trey, and you guys as well. Like, why don't we try to get to the hole?
And I will say, I don't think that was. I'm not going to fully blame Doc either, because I don't think that was what they drew. Like, they didn't draw it up to, hey, get it to Brook Lopez. It wasn't like a set play or anything for him. It looked like Dame was trying to drive at first and then kind of pulled back, and they played pretty good defense on him. He kind of got someone, and not even in the air, but like I think Brogdon came up on him, and that's when he found Brook. It seemed like it kind of just happened that way, but. So I don't think Doc designed it that way, but I was more just like, why did, I guess it's on Dame a little bit, but why did Dame and Brook both kind of seem to be looking a little bit more for the 3 than they were for just getting to the rim, or again, maybe going to Giannis doing something other than, looking for a 3. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like a 2-man game there. At Fat B the Goat said Brook think he Clay. At J Hamdy 10 said bad basketball all around. And then at MJ Latterly says critical of Brook for taking an open 3. What? Again, I'm not critical. So I'm not critical of Brook for taking an open 3, but again, it's a KYP know your personnel situation. Brook is not the guy. I'm just gonna be honest with you. You remember? I believe it was 2021, Game 5 or 6, whatever one it was. I think it was back in Brooklyn. So I'm assuming it was Game 5. The Bucks won. Anyway, 2021 championship year. Brook. It was our guy who's in Denver, and then got traded to what's my man's name? That just won a championship. Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown. Do you remember Bruce Brown? Like, it was the end of a game scenario. They got KD. And Bruce Brown took the ball and like went through the hole and like did like a bunch of nothing. Like he threw. It was the end of the game scenario, and Bruce Brown drove and like threw the ball, reminiscent of Grayson Allen last year against Miami, where those guys get the ball. You're a role player. When I say wide open, like, you got to just get the ball. And I just don't like guys like that taking shots to end the game. Like Giannis, Dame, Chris, especially when I have 3 now. It was one thing when I got 2 guys. I got a Giannis and Chris. Man, I got 3 legit guys that I want shooting the ball. So that's my issue, is that Brook Lopez at best is the 4th option. I probably want Malik Beasley taking 3. Now I give Brook a pass tonight because he shot better than everybody from 3 tonight. But he's the 4th guy I want taking the shot. And off a pump. So when I take everything into consideration, off of a pump fake, when I didn't need a 3 in the first place, that's one of those, to me, you take that shot, you better hit it. And he did. So I'm not mad. I'm overall just mad and frustrated. Nate said frustrated. I think frustration is the right word. I'm frustrated at the way this entire game took place. And now you're 0-2 on a 5-game road trip. And this can get disastrous. I mean, this can, this is you going to Dallas. This can get bad if you don't get careful and right the ship right here. I mean, again, we're not in a situation where I would say anything's a must win, but you need to take care of business against Dallas, and you had a grand opportunity to get back on the right track tonight, and you did not do it against a bad Portland Trailblazers team who ruined Dame's homecoming. Well, Dame ruined it himself too by playing the way he did, but ruined his homecoming.
I was just gonna ask, do you guys agree with me in that? Look, again, I know Dame didn't shoot all that well or anything, but did you like his aggressiveness? Did you like the shots he took for the most part? Like, because again, that's the thing I look at. I'm like, if he's forcing shots too much, if he's, just playing dumb basketball. I know the only time I thought he was playing dumb basketball was that start of the fourth quarter where he turned it over a couple times. But other than that, outside of that like 2 or 3 minute stretch, I thought he was playing good basketball. Like I liked again that they were running a lot through him, and for a long time in this game, it was helping the offense. And then again, for a stretch there, it didn't. But I wasn't. It was just one of those nights where I'm like, damn, he just didn't have it. He didn't have his best game shooting the ball. But it wasn't I didn't think it was some night where Dame was really like killing the team with his decision making or anything like that.
No, I thought his shot selection was great tonight. I thought he did a good job of recognizing the personnel the Blazers had on him and then, calling for screens. Even I saw a couple of new action where they were double screening for Dame. So I like that, kind of catering towards the superstar who we know can score the ball at a high level. And obviously these nights are going to happen, but I'd rather have him shoot over 20 shots and shoot 13 threes than I would him shoot 5 threes, 4 threes, and not be aggressive enough. So, yeah, 100%. I did love the aggressiveness that Dame showed, and hopefully it's not just a situation where it's the Portland return and he felt like he had to get something off his chest or the chip off his shoulder. Hopefully this starts to be consistent.
I would agree. This is what we've been asking for this whole time, right? We've been talking about how sometimes Dame is dishing it off when we want him to finish and he can score. And quite honestly, it from a numbers perspective, it didn't look great tonight, right? 9 for 23. But I tell you what, if he maintains this level of aggression, it's going to look pretty good. A lot more than it looks pretty bad. So hopefully, you're right. This turns a new leaf, and this wasn't just a homecoming anomaly for Dame. Hopefully, we continue to see this level of aggression for the rest of the season from him.
I'm not mad at the aggression. I think the aggression. I think Nate. I think I've seen you say, that Dame will have these type of volatile nights because he's a jump shooter. So it's not like Giannis where you're going to shoot 60%, from the field, 70% at times because you're just getting all layups, dunks, and you're inside. He's a jump shooter. He's going through a jump shooting slump. I agree with that. I'd rather see him be aggressive than not. But to me, that Damian Lillard is a 3-level scorer. I want to see him again. If you need to put that on pause for a second, I'd like to see you get into the basket. I love when he drives. Where's that? You see the burst every now and again. You had a lot of comments calling Dame washed. I'm not going there yet, by any stretch of imagination, because I see the burst and he gets there. But you got to be quick all the time. I want to see him get by guys 1-on-1, tween heads, he step back, pulling the midi. That's what I want to see from Damian Lillard. Some of the things I'm accustomed to seeing, not just I get off the screen, I'm open. I'm not mad at it, but when you're not hitting that shot, you're not hitting that shot. So maybe you got to get yourself going a little bit. Like I said, tonight, like Chris Milton, midi magician tonight, and he was hitting tough shots, contested shots over and over and over again. But he wasn't just stepping back and just shooting threes all night. He's getting to his spots, and I want to see Damian Lillard. Like I said, I know he has that 3 in his arsenal. It's just not hitting right now. I want to see him get to his spots. And 3 for 13, a little bit reckless to me when you're shooting that poorly. I do like the aggression. I'm not mad at all at the aggression. Somebody said the Dame dunk was decent. So again, a lot of good stuff coming in on the Twitter as well. Let me read some of the YouTube comments. I haven't read much. Oliver Story says, "Why the Bucks not making a trade?" We'll talk about that in a second. John Hassel says, "Beasley getting cooked again. How good of a shooter is he now?" And then that billionaire getting milk from the coach players. He from Cleveland. That billionaire getting milk from the coach players. Okay. I don't know. Trent Cox. I didn't get that.
Ask him to jump in and clarify.
I must have missed something there. There's a joke I missed or something like that. Trent Comp says we're a first-round exit if this is the roster we roll into the playoffs with. I don't think that is the roster. And John Hassel says teams like the Nuggets play through their rookies, and they do good, not Milwaukee, though. I do want to ask you this, Chris, before we, I want to ask you this. Why is it, and this is something that we saw, and now we're 5 games post-Griff. Mm-hmm. This is when Joe Prunty took over, the Ajax, Marzion rotational minutes gone. They have not gotten those back. Marzion at all. Ajax, I think, played on one of those back-to-backs. He played on the second into that, and I think somebody was out as well. Chris was out on the back-to-back, so maybe that's why Ajax got some rotational minutes there. Do you think that it's like, is this a pattern? I mean, clearly it is at this point. Like, do you think that it's Doc's intention to not play the young guys? Are Ajax minutes gone now that Doc Rivers has taken over? And again, it's been since Ajax Rivers has been the coach anymore. Those guys can't hit the floors. That's been a constant theme. What do you see on that, and do you think that they should be playing?
At least Andre Jackson Jr. because of the defensive lapses that we've seen, and because and I've seen some of the comments right now. I'm looking at them, and they're talking about how and we've addressed this before, and it's not something that we're not addressing. But the slow step on defense, the fact that some of our guys are just slow right now, or old, or whatever you want to call it. I think we could benefit from some fresh legs. Obviously, I don't really know what's going through Doc's head, but at the same time, I think you've seen Andre Jackson Jr. defend at a high level, provide the effort that we've been lacking, the laziness and stuff that I've talked about, and you kind of wonder. You kind of wonder why those guys haven't seen much minutes. Obviously, Marzion is probably not a better defender than Ajax, and he's gotten his opportunities earlier in the season, and he hadn't shown much. So can't complain there. But Andre Jackson Jr., I'd love to see, especially against a team like Portland, who has guys that were picked after him, especially against a team that were in the same draft class as Andre Jackson Jr. So yeah, that's kind of a question mark for me, but we'll see kind of how that progress goes. Getting into the end of the season and towards playoff ball.
So I'm gonna kick it to you, Nate, and then I'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Andre Jackson could. I've always said with him and with AJ Green, I'm like, I don't mind those guys playing in spurts, like when you need them. If you need some shooting, throw AJ Green in there. If you need some defense, throw Andre Jackson in there. I don't think you should be afraid of doing that. I don't know if I think, like, I don't have a problem that they're not playing Andre Jackson consistently, but I do have a problem that they're not really playing him at all. Because again, there are definitely times where you're like, okay, it can't really hurt. Like in the first half tonight, they're giving up a ton of points. They're just getting torched on defense, and it's like, throw him in there, see if it can spark something, see if his energy just changes the game a little bit. There's times where it won't. There's times where he'll come in and just foul and not provide much. But then there'll be times where he comes in and it's like, okay, he changed the game a little bit. We saw that in the Warriors game. That was one of the last times he played a lot, where he came in and he was getting rebounds and he was like making nice passes. It really changed things a little bit. I just think at the end of the day, though, I don't think the answer to our problems is on this team. I don't think that you're going to have to – I don't care if you think Andre Jackson should play a little bit. He's not the answer. He's not the guy that is going to be an answer for a playoff series consistently. And, I mean, again, I one of the reasons I'm not, like, totally out on this team is I really believe in the top four. Like, I think the top four is so good. I think even that fit, like, their starting five together has been good. It's just a matter of getting a bench guy or two that can come in, play some decent defense, and, so you're not getting killed as soon as the bench starts to come in. And also, I mean, obviously the rotation shortens in the playoffs. You're going to have your starters play even more. You're going to have your bench guys play less. So, again, it's good to have your top four playing really well. It's good to have those guys working together well. And it's a thing where, I mean, I've said this since pretty early on in the season, where I'm like, I really like this core. I really think that they have the potential to win the title, but I think they're going to need to make some type of bench trade to improve that defense. I think it's not just going to happen. It's not just going to happen on its own. I think Doc can get it to a point where, you're not getting torched every single night like they were before. Like, again, we've seen them play pretty good defense for the last few games, and now for half of this game. Like, it's not like they've just consistently been giving up 130 plus like they were at times before, or even 120 plus. But I think he can get you to a decent point with it. But to really be consistent with it and to really trust it in the playoffs, you've got to have at least one bench guy that you're comfortable with, or one fifth guy that you're comfortable with next to Dame, that you're like, okay, this defense can survive. This defense can, be fine on its own. So I don't know. I continue to think it'll have to come through a trade. And as much as I do like Andre Jackson, I think he could play more. He's not the answer.
So I would agree. I 100% would agree with all of those points. And I'm sure we'll probably discuss trade targets at some point during the show. But one thing that I will say, though, is it seems like this is now 3 out of the last 4 coaches we've seen roam the sidelines for the Bucks that didn't believe in really playing rookies, right? At this point, it feels like Andre Jackson Jr. has the red shirt on him, right? He's played his max amount of games, and now we're just going to go ahead and stash him. And I don't know if I agree with that for a couple reasons. One, I 100% agree with what Nate said. Andre Jackson Jr. a lot of times was a momentum guy. Comes off, gives the energy, gets boards, gets some key assists, right? Gets a bucket when he can, get a key block, get a key steal, does something. And I think the team needed that energy because a lot of times it was positive. Now, I do agree there were some times where it looked a little bit disastrous, but some of that wasn't all on him. Having said that, it's clear that Dr. Griffin believed in playing him, 100% did, and was going to willing to give him a shot. Whereas you didn't really see that from Prunty. I don't believe Bud, if he were here, would have played him. Doc hadn't looked his way either. And it's just kind of one of those things where, yes, the answer is not on this roster, but the question is by not throwing him out there, are you always putting the team in the best possible chance to succeed? Maybe, maybe not. But I do agree. I do think you need to give him some minutes. Also, not just during the regular season, but you want to give him some minutes because maybe if you got to throw him in the playoffs, you got to let's play 5 to 8 minutes, right? You want to make sure that he's not completely overwhelmed. And quite honestly, that's the death spiral, right? I can't put you in because you don't have any experience. You don't have any experiences. I can't put you in, right? So all of a sudden you have this player who will not have played meaningful minutes for half of a season, and you want to throw him in a series against Boston. It's like, well, I don't know about that. So I don't know about the strategy, and I do agree with Nate. I think our solution is definitely outside of this roster as we speak, 100%. I expect Horst to be working the phone lines. I saw a Sports Illustrated article where there's a lot of different trade targets potentially for the Bucks now. It's hard to know what to believe, but I think we all agree that they're gonna trade for at least somebody, right? Maybe a few people.
Bucks lose it tonight, 119-116. We see you guys in the YouTube. Appreciate all the likes, the comments, and everybody subscribing. So again, we love all that. At Snell Trep says Horse needs to be cooking up something good because our bench is horrendous. Nate, you talked about it and just going in on that. I think Trent Comp comes in and says, who are some realistic trade targets you guys like? DeLon Wright, Chris Dunn, Royce O'Neal. We've seen some of the talk about Royce O'Neal. People are asking for like first round picks, and I don't see all that. I think that's just posturing. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. Some of the guys that we've liked on the past. Nate, I'm just curious to get your take on, who do you think? As you said, the guy, the answer's not on the roster. I think we'd all agree with that. I know we've talked about. And I would almost say there's an addition by subtraction move if you look at Bobby Portis, a guy who I could do without. Is what do you want to see John Horst do at the deadline coming up February 8th? Like, are there guys? I think. I'll just ask you: are there guys on come February 9th or come past whatever the deadline's 4:00, whatever is on February the 8th, that you will be disappointed if they're still here? And then who is the guy that you really would like to see come to Milwaukee, and who can help this basketball team the most?
Yeah, I mean, most people know that follow me know that I've been a trade Bobby advocate since the offseason. I mean, I just have thought that that's our best chance to really get someone meaningful in here by trading him because he does have value. He had more when I was really advocating for it at the time. In the offseason, I think he had more value than he does now. But I don't think you're going to get a ton trading just, whether it be even Pat or Marzion or Campaign, those guys, your second round picks. And if I'm guessing what they do, I would guess that they make a smaller move like that. I don't have faith that they will trade Bobby. I have faith that they'll make a trade, but I don't know if it'll be Bobby. So if I had to guess, it would be something, a smaller deal. I do like Chris Dunn, again, trading Campaign for and a second or two for Chris Dunn, or getting you mentioned Royce O'Neal for like Pat Connaughton or something like that, and a pin and those picks. I don't mind Thibault, but I'm not sure if I know he has a no trade clause, and apparently he doesn't want to play for Doc Rivers. So I don't know if that's realistic. I mean, the dream guys are like, obviously, and these are all pretty unrealistic, but they mentioned Herb Jones, Alex Caruso, Bruce Brown, if you could somehow do those, but I just don't see it happening. I know, but again, at the same time, we didn't see the Dame trade happening.
Right.
So maybe there's somehow a way Horst pulls this off by getting rid of, Bobby, Pat, picks, Marzion, and really revamping this a little bit, but getting that bona fide, really good role player at that fifth spot in a Caruso or a Bruce Brown. Again, don't expect that to happen, but that would be the dream. And then, you've got Dorian Finney-Smith is a name that I've liked for a while. He hasn't had a great season, but I do think that he gives you length. He gives you, defense and some shooting. And like, if you're trading, because that's the thing is if you trade Bobby, people are saying, well, who's the backup big? How do you save? How do you, make up for the rebounding and stuff like that? And it's like, well, Dorian Finney-Smith is big enough to make up some of that rebounding.
Yeah.
Nate, we got the ball.
Pause.
What's up?
I'm sorry. Okay, no, he's big enough.
Going.
All right, keep going. You good.
No, what happened? What
No,
happened?
you gave me the length. You gave me he's big enough. I'm just you all good. We just
Pause.
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
It's 1:30 on the East Coast, man.
Yeah,
so I'm
it's
just
late.
listening to this. Like,
Yeah.
where is
My
he
bad,
going
my
with this one?
But I feel like he could be not a backup big for you, but he could be someone that fills those shoes a little bit, and you wouldn't lose too much rebounding with him. So I don't know. I like someone like that. I like a wing like that can also play down low a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't know if there's one guy that I think is like some, perfect, realistic, amazing target. I just think that they have to do something, and whether it be small or bigger, like I think it can only improve things. I don't think you're going to make the bench any worse. I don't think you're going to make the bench defense any worse. So at that point, if you can do anything, getting even just one bench defender in here like a Chris Dunn, that makes you a better defensive team. That makes you not quite so bad when you go to the bench. Like that to me is an upgrade, and it's like I just want to see them at least do something like that.
So then I'm gonna ask you one quick follow-up question, right? Out of everybody on this roster right now, because I know we have to make a move, right? We know we have to make a move. Honestly, I think we have to make maybe a couple. But out of everybody on this roster now on the bench, right? I'm not going to mention everyone on the bench, but out of Crowder, Portis, Payne, Connaughton, who do you think is under the most pressure to perform the second half of this season?
Probably Pat. Because I don't know. I think that, again, I don't have faith that they'll trade Bobby. And even if he struggles the second half, like I just don't have faith that they'll move him. But I think if Pat really continues to struggle and not give you anything, I could see him really being the guy that they're trying to trade and like being, really shopped around a ton. And again, I could be wrong. Maybe it ends up being Bobby. Maybe Bobby gets traded and I'm wrong about this. It's hard for me to like envision them moving on from him right away after half a bad season. I know in my opinion, he's been bad for a couple seasons and in the playoffs for a few seasons. But I think that they weren't really thinking about trading him too much before. I don't know that they'll right away move on from him. So I think Pat could be the guy that if he continues to struggle, if he doesn't, because his thing too has been, he turns it on in the playoffs. He turns it on when it matters. He starts hitting threes. He's been a consistently good 3-point shooter in the playoffs. That's one of the only reasons why I'm okay keeping him around, and that to go along. I mean, along with the Giannis likes him, Dame likes him, and stuff like that. But on court, the only reason I really want to keep him around or have any reason not to want to trade him is because he's consistently shown up in the playoffs as far as his shot goes. So if he doesn't, if all of a sudden we get to the playoffs and he's doing the same thing he's doing now, you look at it and say, okay, what are you keeping him here for? There's really no reason, and I think he'd be the guy that they're kind of moving more than anyone else.
Ask the people who have been asking to trade Dame in the comments. So it's all crazy. For the record, Doc Rivers was at the podium and did say that he thought Brook Lopez should have given the ball back to Damian Lillard if he wasn't going to take the three right away. So that was Doc's perspective on that second to last offensive possession, saying that Brook probably should have given that basketball up. Todd Morrow comes in and says, bottom line, Bucks only have two trade assets. Oh my God. So why not? One is Giannis, the other's Dame. Okay. So
trade Giannis.
There you go. At K&A Family says, sadly, Giannis has not made any improvement to his game. I actually see regression. Dame Giannis two-man game doesn't work because Giannis can't shoot. He's not Nash Amari, Jokic Murray, or even Stockton Malone. So yeah, a lot of people coming in here. It's just off the rails a bit. Do really quick want to get to so Dame's return to Portland. Overall, obviously you get the loss, but did you just really quickly the ovation that he got, the love from the city, the all the things he did for Portland. Then he made a comment that was like he could see himself back in Portland or something like that. Somebody mentioned that we should like look at that and what did he mean by that? I thought John thought he was gonna get booed, but it was I think they embraced him. I think it was a good move. Obviously, again, I think sometimes things have to end, and so it made sense that it ended for Damian Lillard. So the only other question I want to ask you about that is, you could speak to, the Damian Lillard being in Portland and what that probably meant to him, seeing his family. We know he's been going through a rough patch and personal issues as well. But do you think, and this is a second question, do you think that if the Bucks knew that Drew Holiday would end up in Boston, that they still would have made the trade to get Damian Lillard? To me, the answer is clear. I think you still would have done it. Again, hindsight 2020. Again, I'm hoping obviously that Dame is going to turn into Damian Lillard. We haven't seen that through this point in the season. We've seen bits and pieces, but we haven't seen it for an extended stretch. Still a lot of time. But with what you're looking at with Boston, do you think that the Bucks still make that move if they had the foresight to know that through that move, Drew Holiday was going to somehow get to Boston?
Without question, I think you absolutely are still doing it. Because I don't care. I'm not worried about, other teams as much as I'm just worrying about making my team the best and giving my team the best chance at winning a title. And whether you believe so or not, like the Bucks title chances went up when they got Damian Lillard. Like I don't care if he's playing not his best. I don't care. Their ceiling is so much higher than it was before. We see it when they're clicking. They are amazing. We see his even just his floor offensively as far as scoring. He's shooting right now, and it's better than Drew was in the playoffs. But he's given you at times like Drew Holiday type Drew Holiday playoff type shooting splits, which is the reason we got rid of Drew Holiday is the guy was terrible in the playoffs. The guy was just could not hit anything to save his life in the playoffs. Dame is at times giving you those shooting splits and still averaging 25 points a game. It's a totally different, like his floor as far as scoring goes is so much higher. This team's ceiling when they're playing their best is so much higher. Like I look at it and say, like, do people really think that they'd want to go back to having, Drew Holiday and Chris as their only two primary creators? I know Giannis is one, but I'm talking about on the perimeter. Like, no, you don't want to be in that position. There's a reason that we struggle in that position so much in the playoffs is because that doesn't work. And if you really think that you'd rather have Drew Holiday, like go back and watch games 4 and 5, the fourth quarter of those two games against the Heat, and tell me that offense doesn't look ridiculously terrible. Like, and again tonight, in nights like tonight where like the second half we didn't look great, but at least I personally, outside of that 4-minute stretch to start the fourth, I liked what they were doing offensively. I liked the shots they were getting. I liked, like you said, you thought it was very dysfunctional. I honestly disagree a little bit. Outside that stretch, I thought it was more. There was more structure, and it seemed like they were more, I'm trying to think of what the word is, but like intentive of what they were doing or had more intent to what they were doing. It was like, okay, we're going to look to get Dame the ball. We're going to look to set screens for Dame. We're going to look to get open threes for these guys and get good shots. And, Giannis is still going to do his thing. Didn't always work. It didn't always have great results, but I thought and that's why I don't have a huge issue with Doc tonight, because I thought there was more structure than there was in the Nuggets game. Offensively, it wasn't, a ton of Bobby Portis shooting shots and stuff like that.
I'm so sick of that black hole that Bobby Porter's ball down. It hurts me.
Like I liked that they were trying to get their best player shots tonight, and they were trying to draw stuff up to get their best player shots. Even that late 3 Dame shot before he got the steal and the oop to Giannis, missed a 3, but they drew up a pretty good play to get him a good look. And that's like, I like that. It didn't go in, but I like that. And then defensively, again, they had a good second half. They Even like, and there were even times in the first half where I'm like, man, the Blazers made a ton of shots. Like they just had some good shot making tonight. And so I don't know. I think that when you look at the whole thing, it's like Dame has turned this team, even when he's not at his best, like he has raised our ceiling and while also raising our offensive floor at the same time,
Yeah.
even without being Damian Lillard. Like, and
Mhm.
that's what's scary to me still is like this isn't like we're playing our absolute best and all these guys are just tearing it up and we're still losing these games. It's like, no, like, Dame could have been a lot better tonight. The bench sucks, and Giannis could have been a lot better tonight. Even though he wasn't terrible, he could have been a lot better tonight. And, and the Blazers shot really well from three, and they still almost won this game. And it's like, I don't know. I still think that the ceiling is so high and they still have so much more potential than they've shown. And again, with Drew Holiday, you're probably going to have a little bit safer floor overall because you're going to be better defensively and all that, and you kind of just know what you're getting more from a game to game basis. But you didn't have that ceiling, and it almost felt like they got to a point where they're like, okay, like, yeah, we could play it safe and just try to be a really good team, but we might not ever get over the hump again. We might not have that firepower to get over the hump. But no, they went all in to say, we're going to make sure that if we don't win, it's not because we never gave ourselves a chance. It's not because we never had the potential to win. Like they have the potential to win the finals, whether they're showing it right now or not, like they have that because we've seen it in stretches this season. We've seen how good this offense can be, and we've seen them at times be solid defensively too. If they can put it together and get it in the playoffs, then yes, you can win the title. So again, I mean, it's kind of a long answer, but no question you're still doing the Dame trade.
It's been a really late night Bucks after dark. I want to be respectful of Nate's time. Nate told us he give us 20 minutes. He's given us we almost at an hour right now. JT, Chris, do you have any? I want to finalize this thing with Nate, and then we'll wrap this thing up. JT, Chris, you got any questions? Anything you want to finish out with Nate to ask him or get off your chest before we close this thing out?
Hey man, you know what? No, it's been an absolute pleasure with Nate. Right? We got to get a nick. We don't have a nickname. Trey, you the guru, right? We the guru.
I thought it was Nate Dogg. That's what I
want.
Yeah, Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg was always the one.
Right? I was originally thinking Nate the Great, and I was like, I don't know, man. I know we go with Nate the Great, man. He already triggering other fan bases. He started calling himself that. All of a sudden, people lose their mind. But no, man. No, it's absolutely been a pleasure with you, and I think we're all looking forward to the second half of the Bucks season, right? Especially once we get past the All-Star break. I think Doc is going to eventually. Now, personally, guys, I don't know about you. Doc's got to get a win, and it's got to be soon. You cannot start out at 0-5, right? When you made a mid-season coaching change, because then I do wonder if the players are going to be like, "Yeah, we respect Doc for who he is, but this shit ain't working." You know what I'm saying? Like right. You have a problem here at that point. So.
It's late, JT out here cussing.
Oh, man, listen. I don't have a Stella Rose, man.
Working in the morning.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah, but last thing I'll say to Nate is just appreciate you coming on. Obviously, this is a new thing we started, and it's a pleasure to have you on. And then last thing, when the Bucks turn this thing around, I need to know the spots in Milwaukee to go to when we win this finals. That's what I want to know. Absolutely. I got a shot on me. All right, you always drink good on my bill, on my paycheck.
Hit me up. We're gonna be and it's we're saying this now just so everyone knows we're at a pretty much a low point in the season right now, February 1st. We're going to win the title. We're going to come back. We're going to turn this thing around. We're going to win the freaking title. And yeah, I'll see you at the bars, and we're going to get some shots. We're going to party it up, and it's going to be awesome.
All right.
You going out with Nate. I see Nate in action at the bar. Like we all see Nate. Hey, we going to party with Nate. That's how we getting down.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Nate, we appreciate it, man, 100%. Thank you so much for coming on, spending some time with us after a Bucks tough loss, 119-116. Appreciate it, Nate. All right, man.
Yep, thanks, Nate.
Absolutely. That was Nathan Marzion, man, spending about an hour with us tonight as he talked about the Bucks losing 119-116. That was good. Man, I do want Todd says the ceiling sucks. We can't stop anyone to turn over the ball too much. Dame actually plays like crap. Giannis keeps missing free throws. Giannis is actually pretty good from the free throw line tonight. It's funny. I've talked about this before, but when other teams start counting Giannis down from the line, like you get him into a rhythm. So like I welcome the counts. I think he went like 6 for 8 or something. And I'll take that. Again, we are getting super, super late into the night. I know JT getting a little sleepy. You want to talk? So you want to get to stay in the PJs? You want to get to you want to talk about this the sloppy play at all? You want to just go straight to game balls?
I think we go straight to game balls.
I was just straight to game balls. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna give my game ball tonight. Man, I'm gonna let you guys start. Where are you going with the game balls? I gotta think about this.
I'm going with your boy. I'm going with Chris Middleton tonight.
Yeah,
I think Chris Middleton showed that he is arguably the best mid-range shooter in the NBA. Which, quick side note, you guys realize that his career high from the field is 50%. This season, he's shooting 49%. So it's not just an illusion here, right? He shot 50% from 2020 to 2021. He's now shooting 48.5 or 49% this season. I'm gonna give it to Chris Middleton. I thought he had some big shots. I thought he did what he could to keep this team in the game. I think from an athletic perspective, defensively it is what it is, but he can still shoot, right? There's no question about that. And I think 9 for 13 tonight, very solid on the road, 3 for 5 from 3, had 21 points and 8 assists. Well earned game ball, Chris. Or should we call you James? Because your mama named you James.
What?
His mama named him James. The man's name is James.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. No. Yeah.
I'm giving you
I
the
thought
game
you were
ball.
segueing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm game ball worthy. No, yeah, I talked about this on Twitter. Obviously, I got to give it to Tumani Kamara tonight. Got to get no JT. Let me talk. No, I actually thought Tumani did a really good job as a young guy. Obviously, he's not really that young for a rookie, but just as a rookie and coming in and he got all those possessions on when he was in the game. He was on Dame or Giannis, and the Bucks were screening to try to get him off of Dame and try to get him off of Giannis. So really impressed with what I saw. Obviously, he did some of that in college with the Flyers, but for him to jump from the Atlantic 10 and not making an NCAA tournament to go and guard Dame and Giannis, that's just beautiful for the Dayton Flyers program and for me to see and for me to watch. And took some big charges on Giannis. Giannis got lazy tonight, and Tumani made him pay. Got to shout out my boy Tumani Kamara.
I'm going to give my game ball to Dr. Griffin tonight. I think that –
What?
I think, the people were really hard on him. And, I think the expectation that people had was that the Bucks are going to look like this super team. Now, that was kind of the talk was – that Adrian Griffin was the dumbest guy, dumber than a pile of rocks. He didn't know anything. What an idiot. Oh, my God. He's an idiot. As soon as you can put anybody into that spot, and the Bucks will just be exponentially better. And I said, I don't think it works like that. I'm not saying they won't get better. I'm not saying they won't be a championship team because I always thought they were a championship team. They need to make some adjustments, make some moves. As Nate said, the top, you believe in that top 4. I definitely believe in Giannis. I do believe in Dame, and I believe in Chris Middleton too. I'm getting a little out on Brook Lopez, but my point there is it ain't that easy as just sub out Adrian Griffin for any coach, and that makes the team that much better. It does not work like that. We have seen some changes again. This team, and again, I know that Doc Rivers hasn't been able to really put his handprint on the team, but they do look different. There have been some changes to this basketball team from a philosophical standpoint and what they like to do scheme-wise. And again, I'm just telling you, that's 3 out of 5 games where you have seen some issues offensively, and I don't think we ever saw that. There might have been 1 or 2 games that were like 40. Through the 43 that Adrian Griffin was in, that you saw real offensive issues. You've seen that now on over half of the games the Bucks have had. And again, if the Bucks offense was cooking tonight, as they have been for the first 43 games of the season, I get the defense, has been a little bit better. But if that offense was playing to the level that they had been playing prior to Adrian Griffin being terminated, they win this game flying away with flying colors. So they've got to get that, excuse me, back on track. I know Nate disagreed with me about the intentionality of the offense. We'll agree to disagree on that. Just because, again, I to me, I see a lot of your turn, my turn type of deals, and to me, it does not look fluid yet. It's giving. I saw tonight offensive. One of the things that I noticed, and somebody actually said it to me was, and then I started noticing it was, look how many guys are just standing. Like, and before you have maybe a couple guys, I got a whole team of guys, everybody standing around, just everybody. Nobody, there's no movement at all to this basketball team outside of whatever that initial action is. Everybody's just standing, and I'm like, what are we doing? And I thought we had a lot of tough shots in the first half, and then, like I said, things just grinded to a halt. And that was what was disappointing to me. And we said it before, was the Bucks defense was good enough in the second half to win the basketball game. They could not score. They could not score, and when they needed to. Again, why? Turnovers, sloppy play, turnovers all over the place. And then, like I said, the offense just was not humming to the level that you would expect a high-powered offense to play. And then the only other thing I say is on the Damian Lillard thing. I know, again, we all believe in Damian Lillard, but dog, like, if you can't get up to come play against Portland in your homecoming, and you ain't played well most of the year, you played average to his standards, and you can't get up for this game, I am officially concerned about Damian Lillard. I do think he'll get over the hump. 100% I'm concerned about Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a legitimate concern. Yeah, 100%, right? Yeah, that's true. You would have thought you'd have seen a career performance from Dame tonight, right? And quite honestly, 9 for 23, that's toward 8 territory. That's not a definitive, right? That might be a TBD on the tour sheet, but that's, I mean, and certainly 3 for 13, 100% is. From 3. Having said that, though, I do have this question, right? If you're Doc Rivers and you come along and all right, so you lose today, right? And let's say you drop another game. At what point offensively do you say, listen, offense is our bread and butter? We don't have the personnel to be this defensive lockdown team. We can get stuff. If we can get stops when it matters, that's great. But we got to go back to doing what we're doing because this ain't working. You see what I'm saying? Like with what Doc's doing. I said when Nate was on the show, I said, is it the 0-5 mark? Maybe. Right? Quite honestly, I think 0-3. Hey, all right. Whatever footprint, whatever handprint Doc's trying to put on this offense, yeah, you can take that off. You got to take that off. You got to wipe them things off, man. Just do what they was doing before because this ain't it. If this offense is not – you have a top 10 of all-time offense. There's no reason to watch this thing gravitate towards mediocrity because you're schematically changing up things that weren't broke.
And one of the things that Doc – and this is what I was afraid of, and somebody in the comments, so great job, Nick C., talking about it here, and Green Ranger, that neither Giannis or Dame have scored 30 points in the last few games. We can't have both Dame and Giannis below their season averages. Giannis needs to be more aggressive and take more attempts. 27 points is not good enough. Remember, everybody remember what Doc Rivers said before he got to the team? He made those comments about how he didn't feel like Giannis was getting easy enough looks. That was one of the comments that Doc Rivers had. I think Giannis is working too hard to score. And I'm looking at like Giannis is shooting at 70%. He's shooting like 60-65% on time. What do you mean he's not scoring enough, or it's not easy enough to score? For whatever I believe that, and again, I have to really look at the film to see how much this is happening. But is Doc Rivers taking the ball out of Giannis' hands some? And again, I get it. We need one guy. I can only trust at this point one guy, and the one guy is Giannis to score at will. Everybody else has to get in line. Like, there is a pecking order. I know people say, well, you got to get Dame going. Dame got to get himself going. And until then, I know I got one horse that's leading us. You can't, just because you want to get your other horses in, slow down one horse to get the other horses to catch up. We're going to have to get these other horses into the front. But my lead horse, my lead dog, I can't have him slow down to try to help everybody else. He's got to go. He's got to lead the pack. That's my opinion on it. And again, I'd really have to start to look and see if that's really happening. Because again, it was something Doc said, and it concerned me when he said it, that Giannis isn't scoring easy enough. And I'm just like, how is somebody putting up 31 a night on 65% shooting, whatever he's shooting? How is he not scoring easy? Like, how much easier does it get than doing that? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Again, it's too early to close the book on Doc offensively this season or anything, but if he's got some plans, if he's going to try to make substantive change in a positive, I need to see it, because right now I'm not believing it after this couple of games. And you're 100% right. You got a horse, other folks got to keep up, right? Dame is also a thoroughbred. It ain't no reason for him to be trailing. Come on now.
Right.
You got two lead dogs, right? This is kind of what it is. We got to run the what's the joint called? The Iditarod. Listen, we got to run the Iditarod. I need my dogs ready to go.
No,
I need my dogs ready to go. Huh? Say what?
Cuba Gooding Jr. What's that movie he had? The Iditarod?
No.
Snow Dogs.
Yeah, Iditarod. Yeah, man, I hate the Iditarod because it just seems so foul, man. Like, come on, man, you make the dogs run 1,000 miles, bro. That's crazy.
Like to work, man. Huskies like to work.
Nah, bro, not 1,000 miles. That's crazy. I think you win like 500 bands too if you win the Iditarod.
Then the dogs definitely need to get to work.
500,000, but yo, like, come on, man. Who would listen? What do you do in the Iditarod? You got your AirPods in? Like, what you supposed to be doing the whole time? Dogs running 1,000 miles. Like, what you like? You be bored as hell. Trying not to die is what you're doing.
500K. I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, I'm staying warm with hot chocolate and I'm on my Mike Vick if them dogs don't act right. We're gonna win that race. We're gonna win that race. We're gonna win that race. It's a little late. We're gonna win that race.
Damn it, Trey.
It's late. We're gonna win that race.
All right. We've gone off the rail. We have gone off the rails. Here we go.
Hopefully this channel's still up tomorrow.
Right. We are about to get, we about to get so much hate, man.
By terms and conditions. Hey, it's late. This after dark. We good.
We after dark. What's up?
No. I'll just keep this brief. And you know, when you talk about how we're flat-footed on offense, I don't think that's just a one side of the ball thing. I also think that's defensive too. I mean, we got guys standing around because there's some players on the opposing team who are not involved in action, and then they're getting back cut, wide open layup, or guys are getting beat off the straight line drive. So it's whatever it is. If it's sloppy play, if it's adjusting to a new head coach, if it's adjusting to a new roster and personnel, then it's got to fix itself.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I feel bad because we didn't get to we obviously had to. Nate Marzion was on the show. We didn't get to. We don't get to all the comments anyway, but we missed a ton. It's too much. I'll read a few more. I'll read a few more. At Moonman679 says Brook Lopez is a ball hog, needs to be traded. He wasn't worth bringing back. There's a lot of people were upset tonight. At Sunk345 says I thought Dame was robbed of clutch moments by Brook. Also, why isn't Ajax playing over Pat? Like, what do they see in this dude? At JP Fill-in Text says Brook. That is all. At Demon Time 101 says Glenn Rivers didn't run a single Damian Lillard pick and roll in the last 2 minutes of the game. At AZip70 says another pathetic, embarrassing loss. Brook kept looking off Dame all night. This team seriously lacks basketball IQ. 6 straight turnovers to start the fourth. This team doesn't care. Bottom line. And then our guy Justin from NC says this is a terrible L. Portland is a terrible, lowest scoring team in the NBA, and they cooked us all night. When is Dame going to cook? Lopez at the end, I'm not mad. It's still a dumb loss. I'm pissed. And then I will do one more. At Deegan Chris says Brook's ego is going unchecked. Multiple times he looked off Lillard with his hands open and took a contested three-point shot. I told you, it was multiple times. Green Ranger on the YouTube says that we have too many guys that can only contribute by scoring. I wish we had some guys that can contribute by rebounding, playing defense, taking charges. Everyone wants to be the man. Yeah, no, I agree. And again, you need some of those guys when Drew Holiday is one of those options. But now that it's Dame and Giannis, yeah, you need those guys that can do the other things, the little things. And that's why, again, a guy I look at is a PJ Tucker, the Chris Dunn's. Like, we need I think to your point, to Green Ranger's point, we need, and I was talking to a coworker about this today at work. Like Pat Beverly, Pat Beverly in high school scoring like 30 points. Like, Pat Beverly is not you, but in the league, he and we had this conversation because we were talking about Bronny James and like how Bronny James at USC is playing like some trash, and we was like, well, man, he defensively, yeah, but like the difference is those guys in the league, they could score like crazy in high school. And Bronny James, we were just talking about Bronny, and Bronny couldn't even do that. So we were like, is he really league ready? But I mean, when I go to the Bucks and I think about it, it's like we need guys that in the role that they play in the NBA, they do a certain role. Like a Javon Carter plays a role. He knows he's not in to score. Malik Beasley is a guy who comes in to score. Brook Lopez is, block shots, but he's a shooter. Chris Middleton, shooter. Jay Crowder has a defensive role, but we need guys that just have, like Bobby Porter's our best quote unquote big six man off the bench. He's a scorer. Like we got that covered, and we should. We need guys that are more interested in doing the other things for this basketball team, and that's why again you can flip this entire bench upside down and be fine. That's another reason why Andre Jackson Jr. is a guy who I'd love to play, because he's a guy who does not care about scoring. Mm-hmm. Everybody else, like Pat Connaughton, wants to shoot that three all the time. Not that he's not going to try, but he wants to shoot that. Malik Beasley, not that he's not going to try and play defense, but he wants to shoot that three ball. Like, I need guys that their itch is not about, ooh, when I get this ball, I'm going to shoot. I need guys, like Brook Lopez, again, he's been a defensive player of the year type candidate in the past, but it's, he has that twinkle in his eye that's like, I want to shoot this ball. I need guys that's like, you almost have to beg them, like, why are you not I want to get a guy like that.
Kamara.
Right, like a Tumani Kamara, like a PJ Tucker who will get a wide open three and pass it up, because it's like, nah, I don't think I need to do that right now. But we need a couple of those guys.
But Andre Jackson Jr. comes off the bench. He's a guy that wants to make a play, and to him making a play, like you just said, isn't making a three, isn't doing that. Right. It might be getting a big turnover. It might be getting a big rebound. It might be getting a big block. He's just a guy that wants to make a play. And that's why I don't understand why you're not playing him, even if it's 5 to 8 minutes a night. Quick side note to your point about Pat Beverly scoring 30 per game. You know, PJ Tucker was Big 12 Player of the Year. Did you know that at Texas?
Yeah, I didn't,
he was
yeah,
Big 12 player. He was like that, right?
Yes.
Right. And that's So I agree with you when it comes to role players. But the other thing is, like, we need our role players. Jay Crowder, man, he's coming off injury, so I'll give him some grace, right? Because you got to give guys grace coming off injury, right? But we need our role players to be role players. And again, it was good to see Bobby bounce back tonight, right? Have a bit of a bounce back game in comparison from going 2 for 13. I mean, I guess almost anything is a bounce back game after that, right? But our bench, man, I don't know where to start. I really don't know where to start. We got 16 points from our bench tonight. The Blazers was one of the worst offenses, got 35 from theirs. Yeah. I just don't know. And we could have talked about this a little bit more with Nate, but is it a schematic issue? Probably. Is it a personnel problem? Definitely, right? Like, we just, it's getting to a point to where you can't rely on our bench for anything. Besides wearing a jersey every night, you can't rely on these dudes for nothing.
Well, and holding the bench down, because if you don't have guys to sit on and hold down, bench flies away.
True.
So those guys do have a very important job holding the bench
chairs
down.
Away.
They'll fly away. To going on with that point, though, to your point, to Kamara, a guy who I watched him at Dayton, they were looking at him to score, right? And you go to the NBA and you find your role. That's what you do. You find a role, man, and that's Deron Holmes got to do it. Deron Holmes, he come to the NBA. You ain't coming to the NBA to cook up and give you, ain't nobody hitting the over on your 31 points, rebounds, assists in the NBA. That ain't what we getting from you. You gonna come in, be a big man, go rebound, be a board. What Kawhi say? Board man gets paid. Exactly. Go rebound the basketball, play some hard-nosed defense, and if you can get some, you score when you get an offensive rebound and put the layup back in. Do that. Ain't nobody gonna take the ball away from you. Do that.
Yeah, I mean, and when you look at this draft, I'm not going to kick Horst for drafting in the 30s and taking Ajax off of a national championship, but I do think they could have gave it a little bit of a heavier look on Tumani Kamara, because that was a guy that even obviously I'm a Dayton Flyer guy, and I had Trey watching a couple of the games last year, and that was a guy who we talked about could find a role in the NBA just based off of how he's able to play defense, but he scored in college, but none of that matters because he goes in the NBA. He finds his role and he plays it well. And I'll also say this about the Blazers, and I think their record's a little bit worse than their personnel. I do. I think that team they can find it if they find the right chemistry. So I'm not too down about this loss, but also, yeah, you should have had it. But the Blazers, they outperformed the Bucks tonight, and they outperformed their expectations for the season. I mean, you had Duop Reith scoring the ball like he was, I don't even know, Kobe Bryant with the bald head. So I don't know. It was a ton of, just missed assignments from the Bucks tonight. A lot of laziness, like we talked about, sloppy play, and we got to clean it up.
Absolutely has to get cleaned up. But again, all hope is not lost. Bucks sit, and Boston, it looks like they're going to run away with the East right now. They are 5 games up on the Milwaukee Bucks for second place. Bucks are now just a mere 2 games out of 5th. But again, Philly, it looks like they're probably going to have some issues. Philly's lost 4 in a row now and beat out. The Knicks are surging. They've won 8 in a row, probably a little overplaying what they really are. And then Cleveland is like just a game and a half out of 4th. So the Bucks are only a game and a half out of 4th because Cleveland has won 3 in a row. So the Knicks and Cleveland, some of the hottest teams in the NBA. So I think the Bucks, so they'll be fine because I look at the Denver Nuggets, who didn't have Joker tonight. They're 33-16. The Bucks are 32-16. Denver's 4th in the West, and nobody's complaining about what Denver does. So again, we're having a lot of complaints about this basketball team, but I think again there's tons of time to get this thing fixed. And I'm not moving off of this, JT and Chris. I'm not worrying about this. I want to see what it looks like after the deadline. Let me see what happens after the deadline. Let me see what happens after the All-Star break. And in March, these discussions, I think tonight we were a little bit harsher because you should beat the Portland Trailblazers. But these discussions will definitely pick up as we get into March. Let's do some. Let's go around the NBA, see what happened tonight. Clippers beat the Wizards. The Cavs did beat the Pistons. Bulls 117, Hornets 110. The Heat got to win 115-106 over the Kings. The Thunder beat the Nuggets, no Joker. Magic over the Spurs. T-Wolves over the Mavericks with no Luka. I believe Luka's going to be back for the game against Milwaukee. I think that's Saturday, right? I think that's 8:30 Saturday, 8:30 my time. Saturday. And of course, I just lost my schedule here. Suns beat the Nets. And Pels beat the Rockets. I'll just do one story so we can get out of here real quick. I want to ask you: did you guys see that Tony Snell is? And so I actually caught some heat on this on Twitter. So Tony Snell, Tony Snell. Tony Snell has autism. So Tony Snell has autism, and I believe he has 2 boys. Maybe he has a boy and a girl. 2 children, also autism. Tony Snell, did not know this either, is playing right now for the Maine, I believe they're the Red Claws out in Boston, the G League affiliate. I had no idea he's in the G League. Of course, Tony Snell, former Milwaukee Buck, he's been in the league for 9 years, something like that. So why is that important? Tony Snell there was an article came out on Yahoo Sports, full feature-length article about Tony Snell, essentially stating that he is looking to get signed. He only has 10 days because he has to be signed to an active roster before the deadline. There's this window that he has to be signed for the rest of the year, right? And why is that important? Because he wants the health insurance that you have to be like fully vested in his plan. You have to be an NBA player for 10 years. That's what it is. You have to be an NBA player technically for 10 years to have that health plan cover you for life, no matter what, right? So he needs that this year. He needs to basically get another year of service for that health plan to go into effect. Now, the question that I had and other people posed was, Tony Snell has made look up the numbers, open records, he's made about $53 million. Now, of course, we know taxes, agents, we know different things have come out of that. But there's just some questions, and I'll just ask you guys really briefly, and then we can get out of here. What do you think about Tony Snell, who is asking, and it almost came across as like a plea, somebody sign me so that I can get health insurance. And the only caveat is, again, he's made a lot of money. There are a lot of people and again, there's a lot of people in the world. He's not the only person who has autism, has kids with autism. A lot of people have family members who are sick or have whatever type of diseases or ailments that they may have. I guess that's my, do you see anything? I don't want to say I want to be correct about this. Do you see anything just interesting about the fact that Tony Snell is indeed, like I said, it came across as if he was like, hey, somebody put me on a roster so I can get another year's service. I mean, and in theory, would he not be taking a year away from somebody who may be more deserving, a young player who hasn't been paid $50 million throughout his career?
JT.
I mean, I think the thing is yeah, he's made a lot of money. Care is expensive. And I think that when you do have a health plan, right, the quality of care may change, even though he does have money and on the surface level, he would have access as well. Personally, I don't know what it takes to care for kids with autism. I know that there's people at different ends of the spectrum. And he may be trying to look at long term kids, taking care of kids in your family, right? However long, I don't know anything about the health plan, how long the kids will be eligible to stay on that health plan, if it's until they turn what's it, like 26 or something.
Yeah, I think,
Your
yeah,
parents are planning something like that too. He may be looking at he may be trying to look at it in the long run there, right? Because here's the thing: something happens to his money, what happens, right? You got to make sure that your kid. And I understand that as a parent, I'm not going to knock him for that because it's something that the league offers and it's something that you 100% want to take advantage of. We all know professional athletes. We're all friends with that, and that health plan, regardless of how much money you make, man, that would be. I can only imagine that's extremely invaluable. So I'm not going to knock him for this. I'll say that if they're making it look like he's begging for a roster spot and trying to do that, I think that's probably some nasty work by an agent, right? Mm-hmm. That's an agent trying to do what they can. Like, listen, we got to make this thing happen. But as a father trying to provide for his boys with autism, you got to do what you got to do, man. And if you can get NBA, league healthcare, whatever that plan is, I don't know the details on it, but clearly it's probably equivalent or, better than what you might be able to get on your own, even with the resources he's got. I can't knock him for it.
I think for you to be that close and, that close to meeting the requirements, I think that he should get another, roster spot. And even if that is taking a spot of a young guy, I think Tony Snell has done enough in this league and kind of proved himself that he was an important player for some teams. And I think, it would certainly benefit him. I just hope it's in, obviously, like you said, JT, I hope it's in kind of the right, like the right from the agent, like just it's good feelings and good. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, I hope it's in good merit and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. I did get a text that said these kids have a very mild case of autism. That's the text that I got. Apparently the mother said that. Todd Merrill said Bucks shouldn't sign Snell, but Charlotte should. It's the right thing to do. Like a bottom feeder should sign him. Again, I don't know. Should a bottom feeder sign him? You got to get your young guys. He can't help you. And then Bucks and 4 says $53 million and complaining about money. So again, I think people, speaking of all ends of the spectrum, people all ends of the spectrum on that as well. Listen, man, wow, that ended up being much longer than we anticipated. JT looked like he about to
fall out. You better fall out. Fall out the chair.
This man JT, you ever been in class? Kids start packing up. And JT start wrapping up his charger.
Man. Y'all boys tripping, man. Y'all act like we don't have jobs. Y'all playing right now. Y'all act like we don't have jobs. We ain't on our Aiden Ross playing video games all day and kicking it. Like we got jobs. I gotta show up. I ain't doing this again, man. Listen, I ain't doing this.
You done on it to the clock. It is 2:15 in the morning. You can't even. It's 2:15 in the morning right here, dog. This is crazy.
2:15 on Thursday morning. We are wilding, bro.
1:15 for you, bro. 1:15. You Central Time. I want to hear
back some brewskis.
Playing right now.
But like I said, man, hey, it was all for a good cause because Nate Marzion was in the building. And again, we appreciate it, Nate. We appreciate our sponsors as well. That is the law office of Daley M. Johnson. When you need defense off the court, call my guy, Daley M. Johnson, 608-893-8370. This has been a Cream City Media Group production from the guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Chris King.
We will be back. JT can stand it Saturday night. A little earlier start time. We'll be back. We'll do all your T's and Q's as well Saturday morning from 10 to noon. So catch us 97.3 The Game. Don't take no wood nickels. Get some sleep.